Hey, welcome to Kelowna Now. I'm Jim Check. I'm here with Scott Deedles, and you're watching the Bitcoin Show, sponsored by Block Rewards. What are we going to talk about today? The big event, I take it.
It is, yeah. We're going to be talking about the Bitcoin halving that's happening later this week.
To have or not to have,
To
right?
have or not to have. It'll have whether you have it or not. But,
there you go.
Yeah.
If only I had some to have. There you go. Big event for sure. This happens
every 4 years.
Every 4 years. So I think you got a chart, don't you, or something like that?
I got a few charts.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, yeah. It's an interesting thing. I mean, we can hold up the first chart. It's funny, like. So I've been involved with Bitcoin for a full cycle now.
What's that chart?
I think
that's the inflation rate. I think you want one with all the halvings.
Maybe,
no?
Yeah, that is the one of all the halvings.
Oh, is it? Okay.
To give it a little bit of context, what we're looking at here is what is a halving. The way the Bitcoin algorithm works, a certain number of Bitcoin are rewarded to Bitcoin miners globally every 10 minutes roughly. And that amount reduces by 50% every 4 years, or every 840,000 blocks. So the reason why this happens is because there is a fixed supply of total amount of Bitcoin, and we need to reduce this number down over a sloping period so that we arrive at a point in the future where there are no Bitcoin left to mine. And so this issuance schedule was predetermined at the launch point of Bitcoin. And so the original Bitcoin reward was 50 Bitcoin per block.
Wow. And that would have been a payday today.
That would have been a payday today, but at the time, Bitcoins were like less than $1. So it was as the rewards go down, the price of Bitcoin has gone up. These two factors have sort of like balanced each other to make mining. Bitcoin mining is an incredibly competitive sector to operate in with razor thin margins, but so far the economics of it has worked. So right now the issuance is 6.25 Bitcoin every block, and at the end of the week that number is going to reduce to 3.125.
Wow. So if you have a Bitcoin miner and you happen to get lucky and get one, do you get one or do you get that block?
You get the block.
Holy cows.
Yeah. So Bitcoin miners make money in two different ways. That's what's called the block reward. And those are the Bitcoins that are associated with finding the hash associated with that block. And there's also a component that is Bitcoin users pay transaction fees in the network.
Right.
So there's kind of a question. We were talking about this.
And where do those go then?
Yeah, they get paid out as well. Yeah. So there's two revenue streams, but the block reward is the juicy part.
So people can get a piece of the transactional fees. So there's nobody collecting transactional fees. Like it doesn't go anywhere. The transactional fees sit in a pot.
It goes back to the miners.
That's what I mean. It sits in a pot, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So this thing.
JP Morgan will figure that out.
That's right. So what that chart was actually showing, if you want to just put it back up for 1 second, the blue line is the issuance of fiat money, government money, which goes up and sort of expands. It never ends. How much more money they make? They're always making more money. It's the way our money system works. Bitcoin system basically works in reverse, where they're making less and less Bitcoin all the time, and eventually they will be making none. And so the point of this diagram is to really just, in one shot, show the philosophical opposition.
I think you need a correction on that blue line after today's budget.
It's supposed to go vertical forever, but the chart would be
because after today's budget, it's probably going to go.
Yeah, I mean,
Eesh.
We'll see where that one's going.
I think we can guess.
Yeah, I think we can guess. So I think if you wanted to show the next one there, this is just an illustration of how this thing kind of has gone down over time. And the next one shows there's halvings planned all the way through to 2136. And so you can see that these things drop. And what's relevant about this one is we were talking on the last show, I think, or the show before, about how rare Bitcoins are. So there's over more than 60 million millionaires in the world, and there's only 21 million Bitcoin. So it's already not enough Bitcoins for every millionaire in the world to have one. But if we're looking at how many are released every 10 minutes and how that's dropping exponentially, this is for the whole world. So when the next halving happens in 2028, in all of the world, 1 block reward every 10 minutes would be 1.5 Bitcoin. And then we get into sub 1 Bitcoin. Like, this is what's happening in the entire world. So these things are already rare today, but they are about to get exponentially more rare over the next coming years. And by 2034, like 99.9% of all the Bitcoin that will ever be mined will be mined. So
this is like that chessboard thing in reverse.
Yeah.
When you take the 2 cents times 2 cents and then you get them in the second row and it's like trillions of dollars.
Yeah. So our money, our paper money gets exponentially more available. They're making more and more all the time. And while at the same time, Bitcoin is programmed to cut in half how much they're making every 4 years.
And the reason to do that, instead of just like slowly trickling out, it's a mathematical equation which allows it to kind of do it over a longer period of time, right?
Yeah, and
makes sense.
So it's something that's like,
I follow that.
There you go. You're with me. When the 2020 halving happened, the halving was like not a popular culture term. I think this is part of what's been interesting about this lead up to this is you're seeing daily news stories on, the major news networks covering the upcoming Bitcoin halving. So during the last 4-year period, it's just kind of something that has very much made its way into the mainstream.
I think the ETFs help.
Definitely.
Yeah. Because now the big boys are in there.
Yeah.
Playing, and then so that for them is money, and of course they put a lot of money through those networks.
They sure do. Yeah. And the Hong Kong ETFs were approved on Monday.
Oh, well.
So big difference there too. The US ETFs that were approved, a lot of the money flowing into that was flowing out of a Bitcoin trust that had uncompetitive fees. As soon as the ETFs were announced, the trust, it was a grayscale trust, had a fund management percentage fund that was uncompetitive with what BlackRock's charging. So that's been kind of like a little bit of a wash trade. But the Asian, the Hong Kong ETFs are starting at zero. So that's all pure buy pressure. Whatever money is flowing into those things will be
interesting.
Will be new inflows.
Mm-hmm. And with what's going on in the world, I'm sure that every time more stuff happens, people are looking to de-dollarize. And, like the US dollar being the preeminent currency out there. Yeah. And you got your choices of other currencies, obviously. And then you got gold, and then you got now Bitcoin, right? That's one of the things to I don't know of any. I think there is a central bank that uses it, like El Salvador or something like that. One of the South American countries have Bitcoin in their central reserves.
Yeah. So, I think there's two really important factors there to consider for both Bitcoin and gold. One is, wars are inflationary. So if there is a large, and this is not, woohoo, we're going to make oil, we're going to make money on hard assets, but more as, we'll have to understand that if the U.S. gets involved in a large scale global conflict, they are going to have to spend a lot of money to do that. And that's going to be bad for...
War is taxation on people and property and on lives, the biggest thing.
Absolutely.
Right? So
it's a tragic situation, and unfortunately, like we were talking offline, it's also a very profitable industry
for a few.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sadly.
Yeah, and to your point about countries looking to move away from the U.S. dollar, so there would be multiple reasons why that's probably becoming more attractive. One of it is because of the weaponization of the dollar, but two, it's kind of this questionable long-term value of the dollar.
I mean, that would have a huge impact if a couple of major central banks decided to buy some.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Zimbabwe just came out with a gold-backed currency because their currency's been like I think they've tried a few currencies, right? And they've always just tanked, and they've been running basically on USD. So they're trying to wash their system of the USD. And they launched a gold-backed currency. I think they watched what Russia did, and Russia did that during when they were and seemed to work for them because they backed their currency with gold, and the ruble did not fall into the toilet.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting times. We have an unprecedented global debt bubble that's blown up over the last 50 years since
just
we
servicing the debt alone is and that's what I don't like. Like we're gonna release a budget today in Canada. And it just, as an accountant, it's just like it befuddles me like that they don't talk about the interest payments or anything, just talk about spend, 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 and then they're going to tax the wealthy. And we've seen this happen in many, many countries. What happens if you tax the wealthy? Like the wealthy, they leave, right?
Yeah.
And then that leaves nobody left to tax other than the middle class, which they're working on really hard, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then they'll leave too, right? Can't say it hasn't crossed your mind. It's crossed my mind.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah. And I mean, we have a problem, I think, in our political system where the solution to every problem is more government, which makes it difficult to run a productive economy because the free market doesn't really have an opportunity to efficiently allocate capital anywhere.
Well, we don't want to get down. We got the big event. Right?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So what's going to happen with the Bitcoin halving is always a good question. Like the first thing I think, and I might have said this before, but it's not going to be like New Year's Eve. In the sense, because Bitcoin blocks get mined roughly every 10 minutes, it's hard to say exactly when it's going to happen. Two, it's unlikely that something will happen immediately after it happens,
right?
Because that's just not the way it works. So what it does do is to the Bitcoin ecosystem is it reduces the rewards being paid to miners by 50%. Miners sell the Bitcoin they mine to fund their operations. So when the number of Bitcoin being released every day gets cut in half, that changes the economics of how many Bitcoin gets sold.
Right? Because now their top line is just cut in half.
Yeah. So they have to mine twice as many Bitcoin to remain profitable. But like Marathon is the largest publicly traded Bitcoin miner, and their cost to mine a Bitcoin today is around 22,000 US. And so
just went to 44.
So that means it'll go to 44. So, but the Bitcoin price today is something like 62 US. So, these things can always change. I think that one thing that has really evolved over the last 4-year cycle from the last halving to now is that the miners have really, that industry has become very streamlined. So either the large ones have been planning for this for a long time and they're well capitalized, and a lot of miners went belly up in 2022 when things really bottomed out.
Well, they're facing regulation in Canada for sure with energy too, right?
Yeah.
Access to energy.
Yeah, Manitoba and British Columbia have both sort of said no to new Bitcoin miner applications. It's funny because when you see it in the news, it's often categorized as crypto miners, but what they're referring to, basically 99% of the mining that happens in crypto is Bitcoin.
Yeah, because most of the other cryptos are just created; they're not really mined.
Yeah,
right? They're just.
Yeah, and it's that's a multifaceted discussion. I think that there is a problem with anywhere you go where the government is telling free enterprise how they're allowed to use energy and what things constitute good uses of energy and not, just because that's another example of the solution to a problem being more government. And
I talked to a lady in Alberta a couple weeks ago now, because I posted something on LinkedIn. You might have seen it on energy. Like, as much as they think EVs and Bitcoin takes energy, wait till AI steps up to the plate.
Absolutely.
And she's got a solar farm right now, a solar array that's, I think it's 3.2 gigawatts, which is enough to power 3 cities the size of San Francisco. And that's mostly all being used right now by fintech, right? So.
Yeah, there are some very smart people in the Bitcoin world that think that Bitcoin is the only thing that can actually properly regulate AI's consumption of energy, because Bitcoin monetizes energy, and so it creates the only sort of real compelling alternative for electricity use, as if AI has a theoretical unlimited potential for energy consumption. If there was, say, a Bitcoin price trending towards infinity, then you at least have something that could be as valuable or more as an AI consuming electricity.
Yeah, it's like those old sci-fi movies where the AI decides that it needs more energy than you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you'll be that'll be the thing it wants. It won't want you. It'll want the energy.
Well, I mean, and without a doubt, Bitcoin will be the currency of AI. Like when AI gets to a point where it's going to need some mechanism to exchange value, it'll be doing that online. So it'll have to be digital money. And the only digital money that will be of any value online will be Bitcoin, because it's the only thing that has a relationship to.
It'll be buying energy from other AI.
Yeah.
We were talking before we went on too, and I was like, gold is actually starting to go up too, but it's like a donkey, right? Stubbornly moving forward at a slower pace. Where you have a racehorse there that kind of goes fast one way and sometimes comes back and kind of runs around a bit, a little disorganized, right? But the donkey just kind of plows forward, right? So.
Yeah, I think the other thing we were talking about this last time is like offline. Gold going up is typically a warning signal that the people are buying gold because they're worried about what's
God
coming.
knows there's enough warning bells going right now, right?
Yeah, and this is where Bitcoin could be a little bit more optimistic. It's quite a bit smaller. I think that with the recent uptick in price, the gold market cap is around 15 or 16 trillion US now globally. And Bitcoin is still kind of hovering around $1 trillion. So Bitcoin has a lot of room to move up just because it's so small and on a global scale.
Yeah. And then the interesting that I was trying to watch as the the tensions flared in the Middle East was it was obvious what gold did. Gold's typical reactions up, right? Bitcoin kind of like paused, like actually fell in that moment. So it'd be interesting. Not that I want to see it. I actually don't want to see it if things escalate, right? I don't want to see an escalation, right? But the stock markets typically fall too, and we have seen the stock market kind of like pause here too, right? Like a lot of stuff is down.
Yeah. So there was the Iranian sort of drone strike on Saturday, and that happened when the stock markets were closed, which was an interesting thing. So the Bitcoin price fell. This is a fascinating aspect of Bitcoin because it's liquid and trades 24/7 globally. The Bitcoin market does maybe react in ways that is unique to it. So what would have happened if that strike had happened on 10 a.m. on a Tuesday instead of on a Saturday?
Right.
We probably would have had a stock market crash that didn't happen. Bitcoin's price recovered. It's there's a lot of firsts happening with Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin, they said Bitcoin was and hadn't been around in a high interest rate environment. When Bitcoin was released in 2009, we had historic low interest rates for 10, 12 years. So Bitcoin was great in that environment. Interest rates started to rise. People were wondering, well, how's Bitcoin going to do when interest rate went up? It's doubled in price, so like it's performed well in sort of different environments now. Bitcoin's obviously never existed during a period of global conflict. Well,
do you have we talked about, do you have an adoption kind of like curve, like showing the people that are, how many hands are holding Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Is that because that curve must be accelerating.
It is also accelerating. Yeah. And we look at the fees. That number is accelerating. And
the volume in the ETFs now, we can kind of watch that too, right? We can kind of see what's going in and out of those.
Yeah, the ETFs are funny because, all that basically did is create, 11 really big wallets because, so the holders of those wallets would know who's all of their clients that are investing. But it's, in terms of Bitcoin, that's one wallet. And, so the other metric that is really ramping up and has been for quite some time is this number that we've talked about before called exahash, which is a provable measure of the amount of computing power that's going into the mining. And so that has been historically more of a lead indicator on price than anything else. And the exahash chart, if it were a stock, everybody would be buying it because it looks like the way our total amount of fiat money looks like it. Yeah.
We have an event coming up, though.
Yeah, we do.
And we're going to do it here.
Yeah, we are. That's going to be one you don't want to miss. The Kelowna inaugural. I don't know if there was one last time around. I wasn't aware of it. But Bitcoin Halving Party happening here at the Kelowna Now headquarters on Thursday night at 7 o'clock. It's happening Thursday night because... one, because we don't know exactly when the halving is going to happen. And two, there is a national association of Bitcoin meetups putting on this live stream, and it's happening all across Canada all at once. So I believe there's 10 different Bitcoin meetups across Canada that are all going to be featured in this live stream. And so that
we're going to be live streaming as well from there. And then if you don't know much about Bitcoin like me, it's a great place to come in. Talk to some of the whales.
Yeah, I don't know about whales, but people who know quite a bit about Bitcoin.
There you go.
So we have a group that meets regularly, and that's called Okanagan Orange Pill Society, and they can be found on Twitter at Kelowna BTC Meet. There's going to be a lot going on that night. We've got a prize pack from the organizers of the live stream, of the national live stream. They've sent us sort of a goodie bag. Nice. So that's cool. We're going to be doing some tutorials for people who want to learn how to transact on Bitcoin Lightning.
That I'm interested in that.
Yeah. So, and obviously we're accepting Lightning for and regular Bitcoin,
because it's $35 if you don't use Bitcoin, and there's a special deal. It's $25 if you pay with Bitcoin.
That's right. And that information is on Eventbrite, and it's also on what's called the Orange Pill app, which is kind of like Tinder for Bitcoiners. If
there you go.
Meet, so the Orange Pill app has a
so there's a red pill, a blue pill, and now an orange pill.
Yeah, the orange pill. The orange pill is the only one you really need, because once you take it, everything else makes sense.
There you go.
Yeah,
I need one of those pills.
Yeah, you do. I'm trying. There's been an ongoing joke that we should call this show Orange Pilling Jill.
There you go.
Not Jill. We can have Jill
awesome.
on the show too.
So I posted on my LinkedIn. I think you have it there too. You can come on Kelowna now. You can see it on here. We'll put a link at the bottom here. Great place to come and learn. There'll be some refreshments there, some snacks, and prizes.
Yeah. I think it's funny. It's a great opportunity for to have a local Bitcoin event like this in a smaller center like Kelowna. I just think it's really cool. If you're watching and you're curious, come out, and it'll be worth your time in the evening. You're definitely gonna learn something about Bitcoin.
And I think like information is power, right? So like. I remember when I bought my first bit of gold, it was in the first Iraq War, Desert Storm, I think that they called that one, right? That was George Senior. Yeah. George W was second, right? George Senior. They went into Iraq there, the Coalition of the Willing or something they called it, right?
Yeah.
And I bought gold at that time. I was working at the mill at the time, and I think gold was about $200 an ounce or something like that. And everybody said I was stupid. And I thought, well, stupid is as stupid does. Yep. So I bought some gold, and I've been buying it, throughout the years, right? And then the second Iraq War, and now we've got a few other things going on, right? And gold has gone from 200 to, that was Canadian dollars, $200 at that time, and right now we're, like 3,300 or something like that Canadian.
Yeah, I think gold and Bitcoin share some of these criticisms. They're in some ways not sexy as investments because they don't pay a dividend.
It's an insurance policy, right? Yeah. But gold is, I would say, if you're buying gold to make money off of it, buy the stocks or shares or whatever, but don't buy the bullion itself, because it's just an insurance policy. And I would say for Bitcoin, some of the things that I find really interesting about it is mobility, right? Do you know what I mean? Because right now, we talked about this jokingly before we came on, and we should do a show on it too, outside of the Bitcoin show. We've seen a few TikToks or Instagrams or tweets or X's out there where people try to go take $3,000 out of the bank and they can't get their money out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They're asked why, right? Like these are like what do you need it for? Just like, well, I don't know, I thought it was mine.
Yeah. So this might have come up at one of the different shows we've done, central bank digital currencies. And so we're being streamed towards an entirely cashless society, which is going to be presented as a quality of life improvement for everybody. Our money is mostly digital already,
with Visas and MasterCards and all that.
But the ability to use cash is something that I think people should be really, we should cherish that, because it's better for businesses, for one, if they don't have to pay a portion of their
transactional fee. Fees. Visa in business, it's like we pay a lot.
Yeah.
Transactional fees, and that's a loss to most businesses, and it doesn't seem fair that you're paying like 3% of your transaction to an institution, right? Like that's why e-transfers are better. You know what I mean? Like, because it's not. It's just crazy the amount of transactional fees that go on, right?
Yeah.
Imagine that the whole economy paying 3% on every transaction.
Yeah, it's crazy. And and this is one of the things that is a finer nuance point of what makes Bitcoin exciting, is that the fees are very small compared to Visa fees, as an example. But also, it's almost impossible to prevent one Bitcoin wallet from sending Bitcoin to another Bitcoin wallet. And they're transactions that happen online without any middleman. This is why it's called peer-to-peer money.
Right.
And
I made a network like that once.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So these are the right to transact is one of the most important and fundamental freedoms that we have. And if you don't have the right to transact, all of a sudden you don't have a lot, because if you can't transact, like, how are you supposed to survive? So it's money that nobody can really prevent anyone from transacting in, which is in itself a very important innovation.
So good reason to come for sure, because I'm looking forward to how to actually use it, how to transact in it, and I find that's one piece that I really want to figure out how that works, and so look forward to seeing that. And I think that'll be that in itself for me is worth it, right? So I think if anybody's curious about Bitcoin, the more you know, instead of like just taking Uncle Bob's advice and saying to buy or not to buy. Try and get different opinions on it, right? And even talk to people that say it's stupid.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you know what I mean? That's the best way to do it, right? So
yeah.
I think that's knowledge is key.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I know a lot of people are planning to come, so it's shaping up to be a great night.
There you go. Get your party on. Yep. Anything else you want to hit off tonight? Or
we might add one more. Did we have one more?
Two more slides?
What else do we have there? Yeah. So this is a point of interest, and we'll just see. But when it's actually visualized, it's a pretty strong.
Too bad you can't go back in time.
Yeah,
$12.
But I mean, a lot of people who are into Bitcoin, like myself, think that is just a phenomenon that's going to continue.
Right.
So the halvings have in the past so far led to a supply shock.
Because the guy at 8,500 said that was stupid. I just want to buy it at 12.
Yeah.
Right. And now the guy, at 62,000 says that, you know what I mean? Like hindsight is amazing.
Yeah. But I mean, what is not unique about any of these is that the total amount of money in the world is growing all the time. And the amount of Bitcoin that exists and is being released every 10 minutes is fixed and reducing. So, it doesn't take, there are other factors involved, but there's lots of reasons why that chart can continue to repeat that pattern. And what was our last one? Oh, this is lots of numbers on this one. But Bitcoin is, basically by any measurement, the best performing asset during the time that it's existed, in every year that it's existed other than the 3 years. So typically Bitcoin runs in these 4-year cycles where it's up, and then there's a big exhale. And then this is where we sort of reload and get ready for the next halving cycle. So 2022 was the last year. It was down 66%. But if you were looking at the cumulative sort of 12-year annualized return is 150% CAGR. If you want to, people can be accused of cherry picking the numbers. I think if you go from 2016, it's still 44% compound annual growth rate. So the next best assets are, it's been several times better of a performer. And so this is why
gold rocks if you do 2000 to now, because Bitcoin didn't exist at that time. But if you do gold would beat out the NASDAQ and all those other ones.
Yeah.
So it's definitely for gold, which has been around for a few thousand years, is longer than probably anything else on that chart, I would say. I would say that's probably true.
Yeah.
Right? By a long shot.
Yeah.
I'm with that camp that's, been around for 5,000, 10,000 plus years. I'm probably around that old anyway.
You sound like it sometimes. Yeah.
That's right. My ideas are about that old. Well, come see us on Tuesday. Yeah. I'll be there. Scott will be there. Jason, you coming? There you go. He thinks so. He's scared. So,
I think we have limited supply, right? So for tickets, find the info on Eventbrite, or it'll probably be in the show notes, I would imagine.
Yep. And we'll talk gold, Bitcoin. Well, mostly Bitcoin. It's Bitcoin's event, right?
Yeah. We'll,
I think gold's next show is it's every 5,000 years. So
yeah.
We're doing it on Mars with Elon. All right, we're getting punchy now. All right, we'll see you on Tuesday. And thank you for watching Kelowna Now.